God, there's so many of you. Okay, as Casey said, my name is Rebecca Shaw and I'm a writer from Sydney. Crowd goes wild. No? Yeah, thought so. Thanks. When I was asked to think back over the year and talk about the significance of September in particular, a few things jumped out. There, of course, was the Red Scare, which is what I call the saga of needles being found in strawberries all over the country. It was a horrible time with lots of people not buying strawberries. We started to wonder if we would ever eat strawberries and cream again, or if we would just be doomed to drink cups of cream, which sounds fine by me. We worried, what would heterosexual couples do on dates if they couldn't eat chocolate-covered strawberries? Nobody knows. Farmers were suffering. Non-farmers too suffered, as references to Nikki Webster's song Strawberry Kisses rose 6 million%, and we all had to remember how weird that whole thing was. A woman has been arrested for the strawberry tampering, by the way, and will face court in December. She denies the charges, but I think she's a slight uphill battle. The police claim that DNA found on the needles is 100 billion times more likely to be hers than anyone else, which is not a great start, if I'm honest. There's also the fact that she was a farm supervisor at a place called Berrylicious, which sounds very suspicious. Thanks. In relation to her with the needles. And finally, the police also allege that she told a co-worker, if I hate anyone, I'll put a needle in the strawberries and make them go bankrupt. So, unfortunately for her, I think we can already tell how this episode of Law & Order SVU Strawberries Victims Unit might end. Strawberry Victims Unit coming soon to Channel 10. September saw more drama when a TV show called Tonightly with Tom Ballard aired its last episode after it was cancelled by the ABC. As someone who wrote for the show, I obviously cannot speak about this and have no opinions whatsoever. Totally unrelated to what I just said, the next thing to leap out about September is that a few weeks after the last episode of Tonightly, Michelle Guthrie was sacked, and then ABC chairman Justin Milne resigned after pressure from the board, but again, I can't comment. Then, of course, in September was the big footy finals. I live in Sydney, but I'm a Queensland girl, so I unfortunately follow rugby league and watch the Roosters, a team I hate, win. Thank you. As I'm here speaking to a Melbourne audience, I obviously can't forget to mention the other big game. What a game that I definitely watched and also enjoyed. Wow. Great. All of those singlet men really gave it. They're all playing football on the grass, and what a result, with certainly one team winning on the day. I'll never forget. Speaking of football, let me get to the main reason I'm here. Sure, September contained moments of global, cultural and political significance. There are many important things that I could talk to you about, but I'm going to talk to you about something else instead. The honey badger choosing nobody in the final episode of The Bachelor. Before you say, Rebecca, even though you're so beautiful and funny, I just don't think it's very important, let me ask you something. Isn't love the most important thing of all? If you didn't follow this past season of The Bachelor because you were reading books or being employed, let me give you a quick recap. Rugby union player and bachelor Nick Cummins, otherwise known as the Honey Badger, made history and caused an uproar when at the end of his season he told both remaining women that he didn't want to be with them. Usually the Bachelor has narrowed down the plethora of women given to him to 2 women, who he then chooses between in the final episode, often declaring his love or even offering an engagement ring. Generally then, the pair do a media tour, appearing on shows like The Project, where they pretend to still be together and to be able to stay on the side of each other. They do this for a couple of months until their contracted duties are carried out, at which time they can part, never have to see each other again, and each start some sort of fitness-related business. It's a beautiful system. But this year, the Honey Badger destroyed the system with his refusal to declare his love for either of the remaining women, even though the likelihood of him falling in love via a TV show is as unlikely as the Strawberry Needles woman not going to jail. Look, the Honey Badger was never a great candidate for the show, and it isn't really his fault. The Bachelor obviously wanted to do some stunt casting after Sophie Monk was the Bachelorette, but unfortunately they chose a rugby player, forgetting that the Bachelor needs to be someone who can take us on an emotional journey, who can open up, be expressive, talk about his emotions, and not just default to giving full credit to the boys. He had to pretend to fall in love with someone. Again, Nick Cummins is a rugby player. Not only is he a rugby player, he got his nickname the Honey Badger because he saw a nature documentary where a honey badger defeated a lion, and I quote, What happened was that he clawed the canasters off the big fella. He just went 1-2 on the ball bag, and the big fella has walked around the corner and fell over. That, to me, is outstanding. Before The Bachelor, the honey badger was known for his distinctive hair and moustache combo, and the fact that he talks like an Australian slang book has been brought to life by a wizard. People found it really charming that he'd always have a little quip after a match like, yeah, mate, I bloody was like a rat up the drain pipe on one of them runs, or I was off like a bride's nightie. And look, these are all fine things to say when you're a football player. Unfortunately, when you need a man to open up and talk about his emotions for 8 weeks, and all he can say is, holy tomorrow, how good bloody beauty, to the many crying women sitting next to him on the couch, you're going to have a problem. But looking back, I believe perhaps it's the rest of us who have the problem. Instead of an outcry because this man wouldn't play along with the game and declare that he had feelings he didn't, maybe we should have been applauding him. So much is placed upon the idea that to be happy, you have to be in a romantic relationship. We're taught it from the time we're born, everywhere we turn, in music, movies, literature, that you aren't a complete human until you're coupled off. This in turn puts so much pressure on people to give in, and sometimes means people ends up in situations perhaps they aren't happy in. They sit together next to someone on the project, knowing that they're unfulfilled, smiling at Waleed, but hiding a sadness. For all of his inability to communicate in full sentences, and the fact that when asked on radio if he got aroused during his time as The Bachelor, he responded, mate, I had something a cattle dog couldn't chew through. Perhaps the honey badger is the most evolved of all of us. Instead of bending to the pressure of society and television producers and choosing a woman he didn't feel strongly about, the honey badger instead stood strong and chose the honey badger. And that, to me, is a message we should be sending. You should hold out for what will make you happy and not settle for something you won't just because society is telling you to. You can choose yourself. In the words of the honey badger, holy tomorrow, how good bloody beauty. Thank you.
Visit realercentre.com for the best in books, writing and ideas from Melbourne, Australia and the world.